with some of my favorite psychics, mediums, whatever you guys want to say. To clear the air here. We with Melissa, and she was on one of my episodes. She works with Phantom Detectives LLC. So she works not only as a psychic, but also like a medium, but also works with, as a paranormal investigator. So, when you ask some questions, you can ask that with Melissa. Rob is a author and also a medium, and also one of his expertise that just the episode came out this week is with pets. So that episode, Rob and I talked a lot about him with pets and helping people get kind of past the, I don't know, sometimes the sadness, I would guess, and the tragedy of losing a pet because they're like family, right, Rob? It's important. So, um, and then we have Raven, who is a psychic empath, and she's amazing because she's can do a number of things she'll talk about tonight. So I'm really excited to hear about that. And every one of these, Melissa and Rob and Raven, all have different skills, which we can talk about tonight. And please ask questions if you need anything that you want to talk about. Please do, because it's going to be a really good time to answer any questions you may have about psychics, empaths, mediums, things like that. So let's get started here. So my first question to everybody is this your favorite time of the year?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
uh, and why is it your favorite time of the year?
It's Samhain.
Yes.
It's fall. It's beautiful.
Yep. All the
Yeah,
leaves changing
absolutely.
colors. Yeah, the world is a beautiful place this time of year. Well, I could only
Mhm.
speak coming from where I live, so, which
Yeah.
is the northeast. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So could you explain what Samhain is to our listeners?
Yep. Go ahead, Brave.
Oh, it's a holiday. Um, you're basically putting, all the growth to sleep for a time being, and then you renew again when spring comes. So it's like this is your time to concentrate on you. This is the time to concentrate on healing and thinking about how your year's gone, but it's also a worship of the earth. So, yeah.
Yes, and also about for me honoring your ancestors. They say the veil is
Yeah.
thin this time of year,
Yeah.
and communication is easier. And yes, so some people will actually set a plate for those who have crossed over, and maybe at a table, set dishes for them, offerings. It's really about honoring their memory and being open to receiving any messages they may have for us during this time of year.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and that's important. Now, Rob, how about you? Is this a good time for you to kind of talk to people not only about maybe themselves but about their pets? Kind of curious about that.
Well, there's actually no bad day for that. Um,
That's great.
that's all year round. But this is my favorite time of year because number one, I was born in October, and number two, I love yellows, reds, and oranges. It really feels like a totally new life when you see those colors after a long summer. Um, and the other thing is that um, everybody finally gets an interest in the paranormal, it seems, in
Mm.
September, October, and November. And that makes it pretty special because you get a
Yeah,
lot of questions.
yeah, I love that. So let's talk about with this season and everything like that. One of the main things it kind of brings. I mean, people are watching horror movies. People are really in bringing kind of the spirits into their life, like you said, like the different seasons and stuff. So I'm going to start with Melissa. Because I know you do some paranormal investigating. Do you get more, or your team, I should say, with Phantom Detectives LLC, do you get more calls around this time? Do people like reach out to you a little more?
Um, what's interesting is honestly they don't. But
Really?
yes, but what has happened as of late is that the last few places that we have investigated, which were haunted restaurants, we have held lectures. And that's
Really?
our trade off with the owners is to come back and discuss our findings.
Mm,
So it's so nice because it draws a large crowd. So it basically factors into the fact that it's spooky season. People are extra interested to hear about our findings.
mhm.
So that seems to have happened lately. That's what has kept us the busiest is talking about our what we found as far as evidence wise. I mean, people are all ears this time of year.
Yeah, they're more open to it, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Raven, let me start with
Mm.
you next. Do people come to you around this time, or is it just like Melissa said, there isn't really, there's no heightened people
Mm-mm.
coming to you, versus other times of the year?
No, not really. It's just consistent all through the year, and I don't do paranormal investigations. Well, I cleanse people's houses and get rid of nasty things, but I don't do like investigations. But just on a normal basis, people will come with me all kinds of questions and want their readings. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, Rob, too, one of my questions is you do some paranormal investigations. Do you like to do, I don't know, a little bit more around this time, or you just kind of like, you just, whenever you can do it, Because well, the reason I'm asking this, because it's like Christmas, right? For us. When Christmas rolls around, everybody wants to go and spend money and presents. And, to me, this is my Christmas because I love Halloween so much.
I really only do the investigations when there's a call for it or there's a need.
Mm,
So I actually don't go looking for them. I prefer to sit home in front of my computer and connect with pets that passed, and I can do that any night. But I like to do it on weekends. When and I'm sure that Raven and Melissa can attest to this, but you really have to be in the mood to connect. You have to. I mean, for me, I have to be in a peaceful place, and that
yeah.
that means playing soft music with one light on, having two of my dogs snoring next to me, and and then I can tune in. So I don't
yeah.
go, yeah, so I don't go looking for paranormal investigations.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that Raven? Is that kind of what you have to do too? Like be, I don't know, focused
Yeah.
is the best word?
Well, especially in the work that I do because I connect with the universe and the universal beings and the Akashic records, you have to be in a good, calm, peaceful place or you just can't go there.
Mm,
And if you're not in a calm, peaceful place, if you're dealing with some kind of negative energy, then you're
mm.
just setting yourself up for like attack and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Melissa, is that true for you too?
Yes, most definitely. Because I find that if I'm in a peaceful frame of mind, in a peaceful space, almost in a meditative state, that it's much easier for me to connect and it's much easier for me to push my own thoughts out of the way and receive information. And that can be a pretty big challenge. I mean, I guess I can't speak for every medium, but it's definitely challenging for myself is to truly trust what you're receiving and not be afraid to give that information. So staying in a like you said, a peaceful place, feeling calm, feeling grounded, feeling secure definitely helps me to receive messages for sure.
Mm. Yeah. And I would imagine that's true for, I'm guessing, most mediums because you don't, like you said, you don't want to be in a negative space, especially when you're maybe giving a reading or somebody's reaching out to you. Like with Rob, if someone's reaching out to you involving a pet, you don't want to be, I don't know, maybe you had a bad day at work, boss is on you. I don't know. You just want to be like, okay, I need to be focused, right?
I don't have those anymore because I retired about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, good for you.
Yay!
Mhm.
Every day is a
so
good day.
so we have our first question. Okay. Let me start with Raven. Question is, how do you get focused? Like now the person says, how do you get focused? Meditation? Do you? It says like light a candle, listen to music, and where? Oh, and the other kind of question tied with this is, where should you go to get focused? Like what part of your house or apartment? I don't know, wherever you live it, I
Yeah.
guess.
So I don't do one thing specifically.
Okay.
Sometimes I want to meditate, sometimes with incense and my crystals, sometimes I draw or paint. There's a lot of ways to calm yourself down and de-stress. And if I'm in a stressful place, like I just lost my mom last year, I took a
No.
lot of time off. Like I was not in a
Mhm.
headspace to help anybody. So you have to recognize that. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of different things that you can do to meditate. It's not just, sitting there and listening to music. You can go on a hike. Like I said, you can draw, you can paint. So don't just limit yourself to one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. How about you, Rob?
It, well, in order for me to connect, I need to. I actually developed a routine. So I have one light on. I'm upstairs in my home office, and I do play instrumental music because it calms me down. And if I had a tough day, I go hug two of my dogs and I hold them for a while until they calm me down, and
Nice.
um, and that really makes me feel at peace. So.
Nice. How about you, Melissa?
So I guess it depends on what I'm feeling at the time, because as Raven said, there is no one right way. So sometimes I will go and take a walk and clear my mind before I connect with someone. Sometimes it is playing, soft music. A lot of times it's me visualizing just that all of my clear senses, which is our internal senses, are opened and ready to receiving information. And just basically, it's almost like I could flick a switch and say, okay, it's time. It's time to give a reading. It's time to push my thoughts out of the way. And you don't have to be in any particular space. It's whatever space you feel comfortable in. Like you don't have to be in any particular part of your home or office or wherever you may be. It's just whatever room brings you peace and comfort is where, the best place it would be for you. So I know it's an individual thing. It isn't a one
Okay,
size
great.
fits all.
Great. We got a question for Rob. Question is, how do I know my pet is communicating to me that they want to pass? Okay. Oh, I get what they're saying. That yeah, they're looking to pass. We talked about it on our podcast episode. Could you talk a little bit about that? I think that's an interesting thing. How pets can show you maybe it's time for them to go. Unfortunately.
Sure, it's really observing your pet and their behavior. So, of course, if they're not eating anymore, if they don't like their favorite treat, if they're not engaging with toys, if they did a toy thing, um, one of the biggest signs would be if they're not engaging with you. Um,
Mm,
I mentioned when we talked before that our dachshund Franklin would always sit with us watching TV after dinner.
mm,
And when he was at near the end of his life and his spine was rupturing, he found the strength to walk out of that room and go in the kitchen to be away from us. And that was a clear sign to us. So it's really about paying attention to your pet.
yeah. Yeah, and that's really important too. We have a cat who's kind of on her last legs, and she's just kind of holding in there, and she's part of the family, and everyone's gonna be sad when she passes. But I said, well, I know someone who can help us get past that. So when our cat does pass, you know, maybe my wife or myself will reach out to you, Rob, and try to get some answers and stuff because we've had her for quite a long time. And, my daughter's really sad because she sees her kind of diminishing every day. And like you said, that's what she does. She doesn't like to eat. She doesn't play with the toys anymore. She just kind of just lays around. So
They
yeah,
withdraw.
so yeah, that's sad, but we'll be fine. We've lost animals before, like you, Rob, too, and listen to our podcast episode with Rob, and he has some great ways of dealing with that, as well as you can reach out to Rob. All the links are in there, so you can reach out to him.
Thanks. And
Raven, we have a question for you. Uh, um, this is an interesting question. Um, the person asked, they believe that they not transport. What are they saying here? I think they mean that they want to that they leave their body every night and go
Mhm.
places. And
Yeah.
now what is that called again? I'm sorry.
So, well, you could do it purposely. I can astro project anywhere.
Astral project. Yes.
Yeah. But
Okay. I
if
think that's what they're
you're
looking for.
having experiences where they're sleeping and they're leaving their body, in my experience, and this might not be all the cases, because some people just have restless sleep and sleepwalk and different things.
Mhm.
I'm not a sleep professional, but in my experience, it's universal beings making contact with you, and you are going on a journey with them. They're trying to talk to you, they're trying to elevate you and get to you and get you to awaken.
Um.
Did I
Yeah.
confuse you?
Yeah. Um. Their question too was, should they be scared?
I've never been scared, but it
Mm.
can be scary, especially if you
Mhm.
don't know what's happening to you.
Mhm.
So, if you don't want that to happen, you need to state that you don't want that to happen. But
Okay.
obviously, something's trying to make contact with you, so you need to acknowledge it and face it either way. So, if you don't want that to happen in your sleep, then you need to face it while you're awake and you need to make contact with it and just
Okay.
say, whoever's waking me up in my sleep, please come to me now and speak to me now instead of in my dreams. But your dreams
Okay.
is the easiest way for people that have crossed on, for spirits, for even negative things to get to you because you're in that deep sleep. You're in your subconscious. It's easier for them to talk to you. You're not being controlled by daily life and the stressors. You're in sleep.
Mm. Right. Um, Melissa or Rob, do you have anything to add to that?
I believe Raven is correct that you're in a different state of consciousness. I believe that these beings, our loved ones, whoever are trying to connect with us, are able to cross into our auric field. It's just easier to reach us that way. We're more open to receiving. And if you feel that something negative is trying to reach out to you, I agree with Raven to say, when you're awake, to set boundaries. I believe that's important. Let them know what is not okay. So, yeah,
Mm.
I agree completely.
You know.
Okay.
And anything
Go
that's
ahead.
positive is going to respect those boundaries.
Okay. Rob, you're nodding your head. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I totally agree with with both of them. One thing that I've encountered a lot is that people have told me that um, people on their deathbeds will actually astral project, and they will
Hmm.
come to somebody and let them know that their time is now. Um,
Yeah.
they do that just to give them a forewarning. So that's the only experience that I have with it. But
Okay.
that's all.
Um, we have a question for everybody. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened to you while doing a reading? Okay. So I don't know if you guys want to say do a reading or maybe whatever. Maybe you're on an investigation. Maybe you got something, but they're looking for something kind of funny. So that's okay. Who wants to
I don't
start?
have
Anybody want to
anything
start?
funny. but I
Okay.
get because I get everybody's universal story and their past lives on Earth and all of these things. So I've gotten some crazy past lives on Earth. So it's not necessarily funny, but I get like shocked, like, wow. Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you mention any of them or?
So I've come up with like one person was Caligula in another life, and I was like, well, you're gonna have to reckon with
Whoa.
that. Um, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
and I get like kind of nervous when I get something very
Mm.
specific like that because I'm like, am I like getting this right? Or, like you question yourself. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, everything's your energy retains all of that information. So you still have to, it's part of you. So you still have to like reckon with it.
Yeah. Rob, how about you? Anything funny, I guess? Or
Oh,
strange or whatever?
I have a funny one. Um,
Okay.
when I was first really starting to practice my abilities, I was going to a medium's um, show basically, and she became a friend of mine, and she would have 40 people, and she would do readings to people in the audience. And on my way, I was driving with my husband, and we were in a pickup truck. Um, and suddenly, I looked at my husband. And I said, "That was pretty rude of you to pass gas." And he looked at me and he said, "It wasn't me." He said, "I thought it was you." And suddenly I heard this guy behind me laughing, and he said, "My name is Larry." And he said, "I love to walk in the kitchen in my boxer shorts in the morning and pass gas in front of my wife. And she's going to be there today." And sure enough, when I went to the medium session and I shared that, a woman in the audience raised her hand and she said, "Yeah, that's my late husband." So that was pretty fun.
Melissa, can you top it?
I prob I don't feel that I can top that because that's cute. That's awesome. But spirits will show me, people's loved ones will give me pictures. I'll see things clairvoyantly that they're trying to communicate. And I remember doing a reading for a client, and I was connecting with a grandmother, and I said, "I know this sounds strange, but she's showing me a toaster." And I thought, my goodness, why a toaster? And what the grandmother was trying to say is that we had tea and toast every Sunday. So
Mm.
I would say just once in a while I'll be shown a something that just, it's just so random, and I feel funny even mentioning it. I'm like, why a toaster? But there's always evidence in that message. So I can't top Rob's story, but sometimes the things that I do receive, visually, uh, there's always a reason, even if I don't understand, the client does, and that's what's important. So
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into some spookiness. I know Raven mentioned this on our podcast episode. Have you ever been, and this is my question, by the way, and I'm sure I'll get more questions like this here. Have you ever been in a reading or maybe someone's house, paranormal investigating, Melissa, um, and something just is not right? And I know Raven, you mentioned that you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, that someone's eyes turn black, or something like that. Am I correct in that? So has anything
Yeah.
happened like that where it just creeped you out, where you're like, whoa? Raven, you can tell that
Yeah.
story again if you want to.
Yeah. I've seen a, a few times like people's entire face have turned and it is not them anymore. And like I don't run and get like scared, but I stand my ground. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm terrified. I'm terrified for that person, and I'm terrified about the situation, and it's just horrible, and it is frightening. Yeah,
Hmm. And why do you know why that happens? Is there any reason
they're
or
possessed.
hmm.
Yeah,
So and this is excuse my silliness, but do you tell them? You'd be like,
yeah.
you're possessed.
I do. Like you've
Hmm.
hired me for a job. I'm a very blunt, truthful person. I'm never going to lie to anybody. I'm like going to tell you straight up what's happening. And that's up to you if you want to deal with it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guessing the reaction is surprise or sometimes, yeah, I knew
Sometimes
something was
it's
going on.
surprise, sometimes they know, and it's never really any oh, some people invite things like that, so I need to rephrase that, but some people, you're just in a weak, vulnerable spot, or people that become drug addicted, you're going through a really hard time in life. That's when you become a target for these kinds of things to happen. So you always need to be vigilant and protect yourself. And it's
Mhm.
hard to stay positive all the time. It's hard for all of us. Like everybody goes through
Yeah,
devastating things.
absolutely. Melissa, you mentioned on our episode that you were trying to help a family in a residence, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, and you couldn't help them because something was going on with an evil presence. Is that correct? Or
That's correct. I found that sometimes you can do a home clearing, you could do all of the things, and with time, that negativity, that negative energy, whatever it is, may find its way back in the home. So, unfortunately, with that particular family, they made the decision to move, and it's probably the best thing for them. I mean, I honestly feel it is. But
Mhm.
I have been in other situations where I've encountered a negative spirit, and my paranormal equipment, my ghost box, was picking up a lady spewing profanities. And when I went into that particular location, what was interesting was the very first spirit I encountered was an angry woman, basically saying, this is my space and you're not welcome to be in it. So when our equipment picked up on a woman cursing at us, it basically verified what I was, seeing and feeling and receiving. And my team, my paranormal team, for the next week were so energetically drained. All of us were complaining of the same symptoms. And that was a huge lesson learned for all of us about making sure we go into locations protected, because that particular time we did not. So that was a learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, do you have anything to add to that? I see you nodding your head and going like, "Yeah, I can agree with
Yeah, wow,
that."
that sounds horrific. I've had a lot of weird um, and sometimes frightening experiences. We did an investigation in Cocky's Tavern in Maryland, and I felt really, really uncomfortable in one particular room, and I sensed that there was a man there, and he also had a very bad attitude, and I didn't want to stay. So there were other mediums there that wanted to work there, but the gentleman did not want to deal with me. And when I got home, the manager of the group played a recording for me from the digital recorder that clearly said "Kill Rob."
Ooh,
So yeah, so that was kind of
wow,
frightening. Um,
yikes!
there was another instance where I went to the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona. I wrote a book about that, but um, ghosts like to share their pain of death with me
Mm,
to confirm their identities. And one particular guy, who told me his name was Jerome, surprised me when I walked into the theater area because he shot me. I was shot in the throat, and that's how he died. And I was
mm,
thrust against the wall, and I could taste blood, the coppery taste of blood in my mouth. And
wow.
it took me a couple minutes to recover. And my friend who was with me said, "You didn't run into a ghost, did you?" And all I could do was nod. So that was shocking.
Oh, I bet. And that's just something, again, I've said this many, many times. What you guys do is very brave and very open to do that because did forget it. I've already told everybody if I lived in a haunted house, I'd make 5 minutes, even though I almost bought the Amityville Horror House. I think I told everyone that. If I didn't, I almost bought that house. The wife put the kibosh on it. And also, really funny to people here, to my listeners, and who listen regularly to my show should know this, but to new listeners who are listening tonight, the real estate agent told me, she goes, "Honey, this isn't haunted. It's made up. I knew the DeFeos. They're a bunch of jerks. They're a bunch of druggies. There's nothing in here. Trust me. She goes, I've been in and out of this house. She goes, I've brought mediums, psychics, and they all walk in and go, eh. They all walk out. So interesting. Even though I have people tell me, why didn't you buy the Amityville house and then use it for a bed and breakfast? And I'm like, yeah, oh well. There you go. So we have a question here from one of my paranormal groups who showed up. They want to know, and I'll start with Melissa. They want to know, is there any areas you think that have been investigated on a paranormal basis that become dead? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you go into this area and it had activity, and now doesn't have activity anymore because it's just, for lack of a better word, dead. It's just all the souls and whatever you want to say, energy of that house is gone. Has that ever happened to you, or what do you think of that?
Uh, well, it isn't. It hasn't ever personally happened to me, but I do think that is possible that maybe they have found a way to move forward. They don't have a reason to stay in that space any longer. Maybe it served its purpose for them at the time, and they either chose to move forward or found a way to. I do believe that some spirits do not realize that they are deceased, and that's why they will hang around that space. They're hanging around what is familiar to them, and maybe with time, if there's no more paranormal activity in a location, the spirits again they've stayed for as long as they felt like they needed to, and they moved forward. And I'm looking at the situation. I'm treating it like if a person moves into a home, they've stayed for so many years. They made their memories, they did their thing, and they're ready to move forward on to the next chapter. So I don't really have the answers as to why that happens, but that's my theory. They stayed for as long as they felt like they needed to, and just chose to move forward. It served its purpose for them at the time.
Hmm, hmm. Raven, do you have anything you'd like to add about that?
I've never heard that term, like everything's dead now, but anyway, there's been times that I've either been reading a person and trying to clear them or got into a house, but because I'm such a big energy and because I am who I am, I sense that everything goes and hides, and I have to go and find it and bring it out because they're like, "Oh shit, look just what walked in the door." Yeah. So
Nice. Rob, how about you? Is that something you've heard of or happened?
Not that I've heard of, but there are a couple of aspects of that. So, Raven, I totally get what you're saying because I've noticed going into a house with another medium that sometimes a ghost will talk to them but won't speak to me. And
mhm,
I found that depending upon the ghost personality, they choose who they want to talk to.
yeah.
So if I went in by myself, I would never know that there was a ghost in there. I mean, other than feeling the energy. So, um, but in terms of of feeling something that's without energy anymore, so because I'm on a paranormal team that we cross ghosts over, um,
Hmm.
we do it by combining our emotional energies, and whenever we cross ghosts over, there's always a burst of warm air. That's an energy confirmation, and we can always tell that the air is lighter within a place once we cross somebody over. So yes, when we can tell when there's no more earthbound ghosts in a property.
No, that's, see, that's really interesting to me because what they were talking about. I don't know if you all are familiar with the Valeska axe murder house in Iowa, which
Yes.
had all these horrible deaths to the entire family. Um, they went to that house and they just said it just felt like the spirits moved on, like they're just tired. Like, enough's enough. I have to leave. And I never heard that. I was like, that's strange. But to Raven's point and to Rob's point, maybe you gotta find them. They're there, but they're just like a little kid that's shy, right? Like, oh, I don't want to come out. I want to hide in the closet or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's something I've never heard. Um, question here. This is kind of funny. One of my friends are on here. He said, "What do you guys think of Ouija boards? Do you believe in them or not?" Who wants to start? And Raven's shaking her head. Why?
I played with one of those when I was in high school. It came from like
Mm,
Kmart or some crazy crap. I didn't
correct.
even
Yeah.
understand what I was doing, but all hell broke loose after that. I will never go around a Ouija board. I don't care if you're a Ouija board expert. It's just not safe to me. And I have
Mm,
enough abilities that I don't need that anyway.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Melissa, how about you?
I agree that you can open up portals. I mean, and you can unintentionally invite things in, even if you don't mean to. And I agree that if you truly don't know what you're doing, you should not play with them. And as Raven said, I mean, even if you're skilled, how do you truly know?
Mm,
So I would recommend to really proceed with caution. You don't know who you're talking to. You truly don't know. I mean, even if you safely close everything, say goodbye, sage, whatever, do all of the things. I mean, yeah, who's to say everything is truly closed? Yeah, you really have to be careful with those. So I
mm-hmm.
agree.
Okay.
I recommend
Rob,
test and play it safe.
yeah. Rob, how about you?
Yeah, I'm with you, Raven. I do not go near them. There have been 5 cases that we've been on where people have used Ouija boards. They've they've had dark energy come in. In one
Mm,
particular instance, a family of 5 all suffered from serious illnesses within a month
ooh,
after one of the daughters, who didn't live there anymore, opened a portal.
ooh.
One of them had cancer. One of them developed heart problems. Another one
Oh boy.
developed arthritis in their legs. Another one just developed intestinal problems, and I can't remember what the fifth one developed. But that was all within the course of a month. Now,
Mm,
when it comes to ghosts and spirits, there's no such thing as a coincidence. So I don't. I tell people, if you want to do it, you have to make sure that you protect yourself, but learn about what it is. I mean, and oddly enough, I gave a lecture today about ghosts, and there was a woman who collects Ouija boards, and
oh.
she tried to tell me that they're really great, and they're really interesting things to use, and I was not having any of it. I
Mm,
just said,
Can I just
please,
yeah.
please be
Yeah. Yeah.
careful, because you don't know what you're inviting. It's like opening your front door in your house and saying anybody can come in.
mhm.
Mm, yeah. Go ahead, Raven.
I was
Thanks,
just
Rob.
gonna add, like, I have a pendulum and I use it to cleanse myself and cleanse my area, but those can actually be used as a Ouija board too. So people need to be careful with that too.
Mm, mm,
Yes, and if I could add to that as
yeah.
well, I was thinking along the same lines that sometimes people will ask me, well, what's the difference between using a Ouija board and paranormal equipment? Because you're still communicating with spirits, and how do you truly know who you're
Mm,
communicating with? So, yeah, and that's a really good question, and it's a matter of proceeding with caution with any kind of means of spirit communication, any kind of tools. Yeah.
so I have, yeah. Thank you, Melissa. I have two questions here. Is there such thing as a demon board? Because I've heard of that before, or is that just made up Hollywood nonsense?
Never heard of it.
Anybody? Okay, Rob.
What, a demon? What?
Demon board. In other words, it's a Ouija board, but it's actually they call it a demon board. I mean, I don't know. No one,
I've not heard
Melissa.
of it.
I've never heard of it either, but it doesn't sound like anything I would want to go and
No.
yeah, purchase anytime soon. It doesn't sound too friendly.
Yeah, exactly. So a question here is, how do I practice and I think they're asking skills like as far as being a medium, a psychic. Like, how do I practice safely to bring my skills forward? I think that's what they're asking. Who would like to start?
I will.
Okay,
So
Raven.
you have to put protective, I call it protective bubbles, boundaries, whatever you want to call it, around you. You have to learn how to protect yourself first.
Mm,
Yes, definitely. It's about setting your intentions. I feel like that's a big player in this too. Is yes, protect yourself and set the intentions that you're only going to connect with positive spirits, spirits of the light, whatever terms you want to use. But yes, as long as that is where your intentions are. I personally have never had any negative experiences during a mediumship reading because my intentions right away are never to connect with anything low vibrational.
okay, Rob, how about you?
Well, if they're asking about how to practice your mediumship,
Yeah,
is that,
yeah, yeah.
so the way I did it was I had to learn how to trust myself and get what you know, get what I thought was correct. So I went into historic houses, and I tried to see what I felt. And in the very first house that I went into, there was a 6-year-old girl that came to me. She told me her name was Anna. She told me she died there. She told me she wanted to show me her bedroom. Um, she told me she died of the flu, and my husband was with me, and he just rolled his eyes and said, "Go talk to the historian." So I did, and the historian said, "Are you a reporter?" And I said, "No." Um, I didn't tell him what I was, what I was there for. But he did say, yes, there was a little girl named Anna. She was 6 years old when she died. She died of the flu upstairs in her bedroom, and she's buried in the backyard in the family cemetery. And I thought I was going to fall on the floor.
Wow.
So go to historic places and see, make sure you're protected, absolutely, but see if you can connect, and then try to confirm who you came in touch
Mm, okay. Yeah, that's really good. Another question: how do I tell if my house is haunted? I think my house is haunted. So, okay, that's a good question. Who would like to start with that? I have no idea who. Yeah, Joey. We'll have to tell Joey. Who
with.
wants to start that? Yeah.
I just
Follow your gut.
Yeah, exactly. Trust what you're receiving. I mean, if you're having experiences that you cannot explain, there is a very good chance that it could be. Mhm.
Hmm. Rob, you got anything to add on? How do they know their house is haunted?
You can always, what I would do is I would make a diary of dates and times and things that happen.
Mm,
Sketch things out if you see anything, and that way, if things happen consistently on the same date or the same time of day, then you know that something's going on. Also, on our team, our paranormal team, my husband's an architect, so we would go through a house, and he would be able to identify where different noises would be coming through around the house, so that it's helpful to have somebody who, like, even a house builder, um, come through and have the house checked. So those are just a couple of precautions.
yeah, I like that. Raven, a question for you. Have you ever got stuck in an alternate universe? Obviously, you haven't because you're
Yes.
here, or maybe you're somebody else. I don't know.
I'm a lot of things. um, I have. So
Hmm.
there are negative universal beings, and they have a device, and they are the controllers of everything negative on Earth,
Mm,
from the tiniest bit of anger to the worst thing that somebody could do. And I've literally been trapped in their device because
mm,
I am who I am, and they target me because I have a lot of missions on this earth to restore the earth in different places and to help people and to awaken them. So I was actually like filleted on my floor, and this,
ooh,
like, at first I just saw this thing, and I don't just assume something is bad because it looks scary. So I was like vibing this thing out, like, what is this? I've never seen this before. And literally the next thing I know, it came through all the dimensions, was in my house, physically in my house, like assaulting me. And I had to call another friend that's like me on the same level, like, help, mayday, like, what, and we had to like
uh,
trap it in a cage and like send it away. But yeah,
wow,
scary.
wow, wow. Anybody want to add to that other than yikes? That's scary.
No, never had an experience like that. I'm sorry that happened. My goodness. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Well,
I
Yeah.
wrote an article about it on my website, and since I draw, I drew a picture of what I saw like best I could. I'm not the best artist in the world, but yeah, it was crazy.
By the way, everyone listening, and then everyone listening after this goes, on YouTube and everything, check out Raven's website. I think she's a great artist, but that's me. But check out her paintings. Reach out to her if you would like to purchase any, or maybe, Raven, correct me if I'm wrong. Can you do any paintings for people that might be like, hey, can you do this painting of this dream or something? I don't know. If someone reached
Yeah.
out to you.
I can't draw things like if I see a person, I draw like an essence of things. I can't draw things exactly how I see them if it's like
Mm.
realistic. But normally my clients get a drawing from me of either like their spirit animals or what they are to the earth. Like one of my friends she's supposed to heal the ecosystems of the earth. And so I drew like this whole like Mother Nature painting for her. So yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. So I have a follow-up question for you, Raven. Have you ever been stuck in a place you don't want to leave? Like this is great. Where am I going?
No, because I just want to experience everything. I don't like to get stuck in one place or one thing. And yeah, I'm constantly educating myself on everything. And I'm a history nerd, like culture, everything. I don't want to get stuck in one place.
That's I love that. That's great. Even though if there was a place with beer and pretzels and football, I'd probably just hang out there, just watch football, eat beer and pretzels. I'd be stuck there. Raven, you would have to get me out. Melissa and Rob, you have to help her. Come on, John. We gotta get out of there. Oh well. So this is a question for me too. What's the number one thing that bugs you when you guys tell people, you're a medium or empath or whatever? Is there anything that, people say to you that you go, I don't think that's fair. I don't think you're being fair to me. Melissa, you want to start?
I think people assume that you could do things like, lottery numbers, who's going to win sports teams,
Yeah,
what they had for dinner last night, what color socks they're wearing.
yeah, yeah.
And that isn't how any of this works.
Yeah.
Also, they may be expecting to hear from a particular loved one, and that particular spirit may not want to speak at the time. They're doing their thing. They don't wish to communicate, and the client may walk away disappointed. They may hear from so many other spirits that have messages for them, but if they don't get something specifically from one, that could leave them feeling disappointed as well. So I just ask them to come in with an open mind and be willing to receive, messages from whoever is willing to speak at that time. So, but these assumptions that, again, I could just predict the future. That's definitely a little nerve wracking. And I always say that that isn't how any of this works, at least not for me. I can't speak for everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah. Raven, how about you?
So I am such a strong empath that whenever I'm out and about, I've got a ton of boundaries up because I feel everybody's everything. And when people find out who I am, it's like they're instantly asking me to basically read them. And
Mm,
I could pick up on anybody's anything really fast, but
mm.
that's not I have to like protect myself when I go out because I just feel too much. And so people don't really understand that. And it's like, yes, I can turn it on a dime, but I want to do it on my own terms because that's the way I feel safe.
Yeah. Rob, how about you?
yeah, two things like like Melissa said. Everybody says, "Oh, what's the lottery numbers?" And I always tell them, if mediums could get lottery numbers, then none of us would be here. I mean, we would be, on eternal
Yeah.
vacation. Um, and the second, I wouldn't be selling books. I would just be saying, "Hey."
Yeah.
The second thing is too when I walk into a place and somebody knows that I have an ability, the first thing they do is they go, "Is my mother here? Is my dog here?" And
Uh,
it's like you I have to explain to them, you have to concentrate. You have sometimes you have to call spirit sometimes.
mm,
You know, they're not your mother is not walking around with you 24/7. So
yeah.
those are the two things.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's always interesting to me because I think there are shows out there are movies out there who, people just believe, right? That like, uh, oh, there's a show where the mediums are, oh, I can see the person and I can see this and I can see, you know what I mean? And you're kind of, does that make you mad sometimes if you're watching that show and or somebody tells you about it? Don't you kind of get like, that isn't, no, that's not how it works.
Mhm.
I don't watch
I think
that.
it works different for everybody. Like
Mhm.
Teresa Caputo, is that how you say her name? The Long Island medium chick. Like she just walks up to people randomly all over town and like just I can't do that because I turn everything off when I go in public. So I think it's
Mm.
just different for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
agree that everybody may receive information differently. One medium may be really good with hearing messages, another one may be good with seeing. So, if I've had my moments where I don't necessarily believe them, I also turn around and say, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they truly are seeing the spirit of this person's loved one, and who am I to say that they aren't? So I just realized that we all receive tune into things a little differently. Um, so I try not to be judgmental in that case.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. That makes sense. So, question here. We actually got a lot of questions. We probably won't get to them all, but I'll do my rapid fire. How's that sound? Um, Someone wants to know. They said my grandfather died last year, and I love my grandfather very much. How do I find the right medium to help me connect with my grandpa? Who wants to take that? That's a good question. I like that question. Raven? It looks like you're
I don't
thinking.
I don't think you just have to vibe it out and who do you feel comfortable with. You have to
Mm,
trust yourself in that. Like as a medium, yes, I can see, hear, talk to all the spirits, but I get a lot of suicides that come to me. So
mm,
you just have to who do you feel comfortable with?
yeah. Melissa?
Um, I agree. If you find a good, reputable medium, somebody who you know who, like maybe a friend went to a medium and had a really great experience, a really great reading, and the medium was able to connect with their loved ones and bring through valid evidence supporting, that it is definitely them. I think recommendations are key.
Hmm.
And again, sometimes there just really is no guarantee that that particular loved one may come through. Because I look at it like it's like calling someone on the phone, they may not be available. That's the
Mm,
way I treat it. So I feel like, going to a medium who, again, has a great reputation, you feel is trustworthy, that's a good step, a good first step.
yeah. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really hit or miss unless you get a recommendation.
Mm,
And I have a couple of friends in the medium circle, and I do a lot of recommendations because I only limit myself to pets. I will not do people because people have too many hangups. Um, you know, um, and I just want love, from the other side. But yeah, it's really about recommendation and who you feel comfortable with. I mean, you can sit through a medium reading, and you may not mesh with the energy of the person that's reading you, and that's actually going to affect the medium and their reading too.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. So we're wrapping up here on the hour and everything. So I'm going to try to get through as much as I can here. So bear with me. Oh, here's a good one. I'll give you here's a question for Rob. Rob, kind of the same question about, there again. their pet died and they think that the pet is around them.
Mhm.
They just said they must have been listened to our episode because you mentioned in our episode about one of your dogs getting up on the bed and
Mhm.
everything like that. You could feel that. Is there any other ways, I guess, to tell someone that their pet is still around and everything's good? I guess what they're looking
Sure.
for.
So dreams are the easiest way for spirit to communicate with us because our logical minds are asleep. When we're awake, our logical minds are active, and that means that we are taught to discount anything and to ignore it. So dreams are the easiest way. Before you go to bed, ask your pet to come in your dreams, and they will. If you have living pets have a different physiology in their sight and their hearing, so they can see and hear spirits and earthbound ghosts. So watch your living pet, especially around birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. And those are times when spirit will come and visit.
I love that. I love that. Melissa, question for you. If I want someone to do a residential investigation, how do I get a hold of you? I guess Phantom Detectives, right, Melissa?
Yep, phantomdetectives.org. And from there, what you would do is you would fill out an intake form. It just asks a few questions about your experiences and obviously gets your name, number, your information. So we would contact you. And from there, what we do is one of our other team members does a client interview to talk to you about your experiences, just to gather as much information as possible. So when we go into these locations, we know to be prepared, we know what equipment to bring and everything. So it begins by contacting us through our website. Yep.
Okay. Raven, you had some other questions here for you. It looks like people want to reach out to you, and somebody asked they want to study with you. Is that a is that a possibility? That you be a teacher? I think that's kind of interesting.
I've I've never done that before. Um, if
Okay.
if there's things people want to learn, I have no problem with that. But yeah, I've never actually done it before. So yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah. I
yeah,
didn't think you did. I just thought
it's
you.
not out of the realm of possibilities. But I've just never done it
Uh,
before.
I guess that someone wants to learn what you learn, and I'm like, oh, I can ask her, I guess.
Mhm.
Awesome. So we got a bunch of questions. Basically had to deal with like Rob. How do they get a hold of you? There are a lot of questions that I'm not going to get to. What's the best way for them to reach out to you, Rob?
They can go to my website, robgutro.com. If they can't spell my last name, go to petspirits.com. And there's links to Facebook and all kinds of social media and my email. Email is probably the best.
Yeah. And Raven, kind of same questions too. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Everything is psychic empath Raven Willow just because I couldn't make it Raven Willow. It was already taken. But my website is that. My all of my social media is that. You can message me through any of those places. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I guess it's X now, Twitter, but whatever. My website, it's
Okay.
all the same.
All right. Melissa, how about you?
So I have a website, psychicmediumautumn.com, and you can find me also on Facebook at Psychic Medium Autumn Melissa, and you could reach me through there as well. And I do all of my information is on my website about paranormal investigations, the different things that I offer. So, yep, feel free to reach me there, and yeah.
I love it. Okay, I saved the best question for last because it's my question. um, my question would be, what do you think the future of the paranormal is going to be like? What do you think your future with mediums, psychics, empaths? And the reason I asked that question is because I think most people are being closed off, if that makes sense, right? We stare at our phones, we don't have conversations. Sure, we're social media, but is it really social? I don't know. So I'm going to start with Rob first. What do you think the future is with all paranormal moving forward, psychics, mediums, is there going to be a future?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's been mediums since the dawn of time, but in for me personally, because I'm a scientist, I explain everything in terms of energy, and I've been able to explain cold spots, why ghosts get stuck, and why they can't move on, and all kinds of things. So I think the future is being able to explain everything in terms of science and the science of
Hmm.
energy, so that paranormal will become normal.
Yeah, I love that. Raven, how about you? Because I know we talked a lot about on our podcast about the Earth and how it's kind of crying out that it's, we're destroying it, and people are not getting it. I don't know, and it just seems strange, and I think that's the same thing. Like I said with my question, how is that going to affect, psychics, empaths, whatever you want to say, moving forward?
Well, especially like my job is to like awaken people and to educate them what their role is for the earth and for this life. And hopefully people will understand all the negative situations they put themselves in, like even going to Vegas and hanging out in Vegas. That's a very negative environment. So
Mm,
you might think you're having fun, but you're putting yourself in a negative environment. And then as far as the earth, people need to start getting more involved in politics and the system and taking these bad things out of commission that have been running our planet. We can have free renewable energy this entire time,
mm,
and we haven't because people want to become billionaires. They wanted those fossil
yes.
fuels. We need to take that system down.
I agree. I agree. And I think, and maybe it's just me, but I just see more evil in the world. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I don't see, it only seems like people want to help when they want to help. And that shouldn't be. You should be able to help all the time. If someone needs help, you should help them. And, whether it's something mental help, it's physical, just helping them, I don't know, get their life together, house together. I don't know, but I don't see a lot of that, and it's kind of sad. But you're right. You got to get involved in things. You got to stop sitting back and reach out to people in power and say what you're doing is wrong. This is wrong. So that's a different podcast, I guess. Anyway, Melissa, what do you think?
As far as the future of mediums and the paranormal, um, I understand what Rob is saying completely. That I feel like with time we're going to have a deeper understanding as to what exactly is going on, and it isn't going to be so taboo. I feel like we are. Um, it seems like to me, my perception is that everyone, like not everyone, but many more people today believe in the supernatural, in these experiences, and I feel that the more that we educate ourselves, that's going to help move things in the right direction instead of, again, treating it like this is taboo. I feel that we've come a long way as far as accepting that something is really happening here. And I feel that it's going to get that much better with time, that people are
Hmm.
going to accept more that this is real, for lack of a better word. So.
Yeah, I love that. You are all amazing, Melissa, Raven, and Rob. You're all amazing people. Definitely want to have you guys on again. This was a great experience. We didn't get to all the questions, unfortunately, but please reach out to them and make sure if you have a question regarding that. And we're bringing in the dogs, which is awesome.
he he
Oh,
came to say, I've got another one laying right here, but he's coming to say bye.
Bye,
Bye,
Tina.
everybody. You've been great. Like I said, this will be out to everyone listening. This will be on my podcast. It'll be on my site so you can listen to it. And like I said, all the links will be there. So please reach out to Melissa, Raven, and Rob. Anything as far as reading books, getting, if you want something to do with a reading or if you want an investigation at your house, hey, reach out to them. They're all great people. I love them all. They're amazing. I can't say enough. You guys definitely blessed me with being here, and I was just so excited I was able to do this.
I'm
Thank
excited
you.
to be here. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thanks, everybody. And
Yeah, thank
oh,
you for having
happy
us.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Hi.
Sorry. Have a good night.